Hey girls, gays, and days, and welcome back to the Queer and podcast. As you guys can tell, this week's main difference for y'all visual watchers is my hair color. It's pink. I know that when I started this podcast off, I started as a blonde. But before the blonde, I had all sorts of hair colors. Then my pink faded, and then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna keep it blonde for a little bit because the Barbie movie came out. I was feeling it. I was like, yes. And then I decided to go back to my natural hair color because, pink was meant for me, okay? Me and pink, we go well together. We mesh. But as much as I would love this video to be about my hair color, it's not. I actually have a very important topic on hand for today's episode. And that is going to be, I guess, I don't even know what I'm going to title it yet because there's just like a lot to unravel, but it's basically going to be the harmful expectations that are put on young women and girls, relating to, gender roles, relating to the patriarchy, talking a little bit about feminism. It's not this episode I think is probably my first episode on this podcast that isn't directly queer related. I've mentioned this before, but my goal with this podcast is obviously to amplify queer voices, queer experiences, but I also want to talk about local politics, talk about other movements and other social justice issues that I find valuable and prevalent in today's society. And so I don't know, I guess I've been feeling a little bit more of the pressure this week, so I just decided that I would talk about this. I'm gonna make it short and sweet today because last episode I got some feedback that it was too long, and I agree, it definitely was, but it was really hard for me to chunk out such, like, it was basically like a history class. Like, it was really hard for me to chunk everything out, so I'm just gonna try and make this one short. And to be honest with y'all, it's 1 a.m. right now, so when I'm filming this, so like my attention span is all over the place, my concentration is all over the place, so bear with me. And if you hear meows in the background, it's my cat because he goes crazy around this time. So but yeah, let's talk about the feminist movement. Let's talk about why it's important, and let's talk about harmful ideologies and harmful expectations that have been fed to young girls and women their whole lives, and how it actually takes a huge toll on us mentally and in the ways that we thrive in future lives. And it's kind of something that we always carry with each other. It's kind of like internalized homophobia, where you carry it with you. It's like there's this internalized misogyny that a lot of women still carry with themselves, and it's hard to get rid of that, and it's especially hard to recognize that it's even there to begin with, because it's just feels so normal. It feels like it's supposed to be there, but it's like actually not. So yeah, it's crazy when you start to recognize that, what you grew up with, what you were taught your whole life is actually not necessarily right. So yeah, and I'm not really here to put the blame on anyone specifically, except for the patriarchy. The patriarchy is always to blame, okay? I'm here to dismantle the patriarchy, burn it to the fucking ground, okay? But I don't think that it's our parents' fault. I don't think it's anyone's fault, because I think that it's even ingrained in them, and it was even ingrained in their parents, and so on and so on. It's just a generational thing that has been, since I don't even know when, just ingrained in society in general. And there have always been societal expectations of women and of men, and I think now with the feminist movement, I think a lot of that is beginning to change for the better. But I also think that there's also a lot of issues that still face us today, obviously. We are nowhere near the ideal level of equality that I would have hoped for us in 2023, but we'll get there someday. I really fucking hope, okay? So I guess a lot of the issues that I'm going to be talking about are probably very mainstream issues, probably like issues that you've heard about before. But I'm also just going to be giving my experiences on this, but I'm also going to be talking about like how it affected me, how I carried it with myself throughout my childhood, throughout my adolescence, throughout growing up as a woman, and navigating the world as a young girl. I think there's a lot of pressure and a lot of shame put specifically on young girls. So I'm gonna start from, the beginning, from my childhood, my youth. I feel fucking old when I say it like that because it's like when I was 7, that was like so many years ago. I don't want to talk about it, okay? I do not want to talk about it. But anyways, I think the first time that I can remember that I started to feel this pressure was sadly like when I was probably like 7, 8. When I started going to school, when I started kind of being around people, being around society in general. There's all kinds of kids, there's all kind of parents. People aren't always respectful and people aren't always nice. But I was always told and taught by not even just my parents, it was like even teachers, even like people that like you would look up to in like any type of setting, were you told that like to be quiet, to stay quiet, because it's, boys will be boys, and that mindset of boys will be boys is so fucking like agitating, because anything that boys did was automatically excusable because, oh well, they're boys, so like it's what boys do. And it's really like, no, we need to stop normalizing these things because it's not what boys do, it's what you have infiltrated on them, and it's the beginning of a chain of toxic masculinity. And we all know that toxic masculinity is horrible, once like it's but I've had so many like, I guess, awkward and uncomfortable moments even as a little girl that have just been ignored with, the saying boys will be boys. And it was an innocent thing back then. It wasn't like anyone was intentionally trying to silence me or whatever the case is. No, they genuinely believed that like boys just aren't as mature for their age, so they act a little dumb. And like, sure, that may be true to some aspect, but it doesn't justify and excuse their actions. So yeah, what do I remember? I remember when I was a kid, I think like a boy was being really, really rude to me, and he was making fun of me a lot. And I remember like I went home to complain about it, and like my parents told me like, oh, that's a boy's way of like showing that he likes you. Like they just like make fun of you and they degrade you, but like they actually secretly like you. And in my head back then that made sense. And so not only did I stay quiet when I was being made fun of, I didn't stand up for myself, but I also like kind of enabled it in a way, because I don't want to say I was feeding into it, because I was like fucking 8 years old. Like I don't really know how much you can feed into something, but like definitely wasn't really trying to put a stop to it. To some degree I was like, oh, he likes me, like, oh my god, like I feel special, I feel da 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 da. And I think that's completely normal, but it's also fucking scary, because down the line in life it leads you to believe that, relationships that aren't actually healthy, men that aren't actually good men, that's what love is. I was taught that when someone has a crush on you, specifically when a boy has a crush on you, I guess, it's like that they're rude to you and that they make fun of you, and that like that's okay because they like you and they're just doing it because they like you. So like when you grow older, that can become problematic, because it's like you have a toxic relationship, but in your head it's okay because that's what love looks like, that's what love is supposed to be like, that's how boys show love. And it's such an innocent thing and such an innocent saying and phrase or whatever, that like you wouldn't think twice about it, but it's actually something that sticks with you throughout your life, because it's like our childhood moments are actually so vital because they shape you know, how we think when we grow up and how we view relationships when we grow up and friendships and whatever the case is. So I was going through my life, you know, as a preteen teen, before I, you know, realized I was gay, and I was like not really trying to get with men, but like I was like, I guess like every now and then I'd be like, oh my god, cute guy, whatever. Anyways, but I interpreted love as, you know, was supposed to be like an awful experience in general. And I think that that also played a role in like me not realizing I was gay before, which I still think I came out pretty fucking early in life, like at 15. I think that's generally like an early realization. I don't know. But I think it definitely could have been sooner. But because I genuinely didn't enjoy any relationships that I had with men that went beyond, you know, friendship. But I thought that that was normal. I didn't think that I was supposed to like it or like enjoy being in a relationship or whatever, because nobody enjoys being in a relationship with boys, because, you know, boys, they just make fun of you in relationships, but that's just like their way of showing love, and that's just how it is. Where, like, first of all, no, no, that's not the case at all. And I think that had I not come out and had I not, you know, been gay, and continued to have relationships with men down the line, I think that that could have been a lot more of a serious issue. Could have led to a lot more serious problems and serious trauma within my life, because I think that, you know, it's easy to get manipulated. And I think that with that mindset of, you know, I'm not actually supposed to enjoy this, but it's not about me, it's just about the guy, that's toxic, that's horrible. Um, because you don't even realize how toxic it is or how wrong it is, because that's your interpretation of love, that's what you think love looks like for them and whatever. So I think that in that way I kind of had some luck, because I didn't have to deal with it as much growing up, because I was also like never really interested in it, so I didn't really care for it. I was like, whatever, like boys will be boys, it doesn't really bother me because I don't want anything to do with them to begin with. Which is like so funny, because hello, gay, 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 gay. But didn't know that. But it is harmful, because it's harmful on the side of women, because it's like, what the fuck are we being taught? But it's also harmful for men, because if they grow up with that kind of mindset, then they can grow up thinking that a lot of other things that are definitely not okay are okay down the line in life and in relationships, and in how they treat women and how they treat their partners and how they treat even their fucking mothers, like whoever, like, you know. And then they have set expectations for how their girlfriends are going to act or how their girlfriends are going to dress, look, whatever, because they've been taught that, you know, boys will be boys, and that essentially they can get away with a lot of things, because they've gotten away with a lot of things, because they haven't had a lot of consequences to their actions, because the only consequence of their actions was, boys will be boys. You know, boys, they're not that mature yet. And I think that that enables toxic masculinity and enables oppressive, like, thoughts and oppressive I have a few tattoos that are pretty visible, and I think that for women, tattoos are still kind of like a taboo in a way of where it's like, really, like, you did that to your body, like, why? And I don't know, I just fucking did it because I like it. It's also, so add my hair color plus tattoos plus I don't shave my legs because I don't give a fuck, truly. I think that shaving is a personal preference, a personal choice. I just don't care enough to shave my legs. It's a lot of fucking work that I'm not gonna put into because the hair on my legs doesn't bother me. Therefore, I'm not going to be bothered to remove it because it might bother someone else. It's not how it works, okay? This is my body, and I get to do what I like with it. Thank you very much. So I think that I started to notice a lot of strange looks, and I also, like, from side of my family where it's like, you don't really look like a woman because you have hair on your legs and you need to shave it because you need to fit into this mold of womanhood and you need to look like a woman to be respected, and you're gonna go outside looking like that, you're gonna go outside dressed like that, you're gonna go outside without shaved legs, where it's like, yes, I'm going to go outside without shaved legs, I'm going to go outside with bright pink hair, I'm going to go outside with a tank top and shorts. And I'm not asking for anything. I'm not, like, oh my god, like, I'm just fucking trying to exist. That's it. And I don't want to constantly live in a society where I have to constantly think about what I'm wearing, if it's appropriate to other people, if it's gonna, if I'm gonna get comments, if I'm gonna get judgments, all of this. It's like, I don't want to think about that. I shouldn't have to think about that. Men never think about that. Ever, 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 ever. And I'm not gonna think about it either. So, yes, I have hair on my legs. Yes, I don't shave willingly. I don't want to shave. If someone asks me to shave, or if someone ever asks me about it, I'm always like, yeah, no, I don't want to. And people look at me weirdly when I say that. People think of me weirdly when I say that. They think that there's something off with me, that, at first they think I'm joking. Then when they realize that I'm serious, they're like, oh, is this some kind of, like, feminist shit? And it's like, no, not really. I mean, depends. Sure, yeah, feminism is bodily autonomy. It's, choosing what you want to do with your body and what you don't want to do. But I'm not doing it out of spite. I'm doing it out of my comfortability with my body, right? So, yes, women have hair too, okay? Hair on women is completely natural. And I also don't shave my arms, which I guess, like, I don't really have noticeable hairs on my arms, so it's, like, not as bad. But I don't really shave my arms because why? I don't really care for it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care. So yeah, I guess that's the expectation with hair. Then I'm going to go into a topic that's a little bit more sensitive for me. And that's body image. Body, like, how you look. Because I think that as a woman, as a girl, you are constantly told that you are either too fat, too skinny. There's always something wrong with you. It's either you're too fat, you're too skinny, or your legs are, like, they look like this and they're not proportional to your body, whatever the fucking case is. And it's so exhausting trying to always be perfect, but you are never, ever, ever perfect because people will find a flaw in you no matter what. And I've gone through a lot of shit with my body, right? I've had an eating disorder, and I've seen how people have viewed my body before and after my eating disorder, right? And during. So before my eating disorder, I was told that I should probably lose weight. I was, people were always commenting on my body. People were always commenting on my food intake. And it's also something that's so normalized for girls, like, for people to comment on girls' weight and on girls', like, food intake. It's so normal, when it's like, it's not normal at all. No, like, why do you care if I'm eating this, or if I'm eating that, or if I look like this or like that. Like, hello, like, mind your own business, the fuck. But yeah, before my eating disorder, you know, I was too fat, I was eating too much, or, you know, I was eating too much of this and not enough of this, and I wasn't exercising enough, but I also wasn't like there was just so many things that I felt like I wasn't doing enough. So when I, unfortunately, because of all of this pressure to, you know, fit in and be perfect and fit this mold and satisfy all these people's expectations of me, when I developed an eating disorder, a lot of it was, you know, excessive exercise and starving myself because I had anorexia, right? So yeah, my body drastically changed very, very quickly, and not in a good way, not in a healthy way. And it didn't matter how thin I got, I still hated how I looked. So it wasn't really about the weight. It just became such a mental battle at that point. But when I had anorexia, people were like, yeah, no, you're too skinny now. Now you look sick. Now it's like you've taken it, you know, too far. So I kind of felt helpless then too, because I was like, wait, but no, like, this is what I thought you wanted. Like, I thought that this was like how I had to look like to get your approval, to, you know, earn your respect, whatever the fuck it is. And then I reached this, and now you're saying, no, that's not good enough either. Like, and it was such a confusing concept, because I was like, no, but I did everything you asked me to. You said that I didn't work out as much or enough, so I worked out a lot. You said that I was eating too much, so I stopped. You know, like, all of it, like, and then I realized that whatever I did, no matter what, people would always find a flaw. People would always find a way to dissect your every move, because that's just how fucking society is sometimes with people, and with girls especially, because, you know, it's like, if you don't fit this mold, but there's like this exact mold, like, you have to look like this, and you can't look there can't be any slight changes to how you look. And if you're too fat, or if you're too skinny, then you're out of the picture. If you're just right, then there's probably something wrong with your hair. There's probably something wrong with, you know, the proportions of your legs, whatever the fuck. I've heard so many weird things from so many people. It's actually fucking insane. And then after my eating disorder, I became more assertive, set boundaries with, you're not going to comment on my body. You're not going to comment on my food intake, period. If you comment on my body and my food intake, I am leaving the conversation. Done. Ditto. You know, like, I'm like this, I'm not having it, because that's what got me to this really dark place in the first place, and I'm not about to go through that again, okay? And for the most part, that has been respected, but even now, I see how people, you know, will still comment sometimes on my food intake or my body. You know, they'll think that I've made it too, like, they think that I'm, you know, enough in recovery where they can, like, slightly get back with their comments, and I'm like, that's not how this shit works. But, you know, it's exhausting to always have to remind people, because it's like, I shouldn't have to remind you. It should just be common sense at this point, right? Like, I've said it multiple times that this is not okay. I don't feel comfortable with this. But even now I'll hear, like, where it's like, yeah, you know, when you had anorexia, you looked really, really sick, and like, it was a horrible look on you. But like, even before that though, like, you were too fat. So it was like, you just like were never like just right. Like, I hear that, or I'll hear like people say that, you know, I should lose a little weight but not go full crazy and insane about it. You know, that I should hold a diet, and it should just be a diet. It shouldn't be, you know, a starvation full on thing. But, you know, some people don't understand how addiction works, and I may not be addicted to a specific substance, like if you're a drug addict or an alcoholic, but I am addicted to behaviors and patterns, like eating disorder patterns and eating disorder behaviors. And it can take a little thing, it can take a little diet to just go down that rampage again. And that is why I always say, no, sorry, I'm not participating in diets. I'm not participating in this, and this, because I know my body. I know how hungry I am, and I know, if I want to eat this, I want to eat this. I want to eat this, I want to, I know my body. I'm not going to be participating in any diets because I know where that will lead me. People don't tend to understand that. People say, you're just dramatic. Like, every girl diets. Like, that's normal. Like, what are you talking about? And it's like, really? And disordered eating is so normalized in womanhood and in, girls. There's a slight difference between eating disorders and disordered eating. Disordered eating is, it's not really full on, anorexia, bulimia, or whatever, but, it's, you're just, on diets and, you don't really feel great about your body, but it's not, you're not taking it to extreme measures where it's becoming, a mental disorder, a mental illness, right? But it's also not a great way to live. It's not a happy way to live, right? And I feel like that's so normalized in girls because, it's they're, girls are always on diets. Girls are always trying to look thinner. The girls are always exercising because, society and their expectations. But that's normal. That's normalized, right? And if you're not dieting, then, oh, how dare you? You have to diet. This is what we do. And then if you take it too far to the other extreme spectrum of, getting an eating disorder, then it's oh, no, that's not what we meant. We meant, you just stay here, and it's it's so, and people look at you so weird, especially in, LA or, places where there's a lot of influencers or, a lot of, I don't know, yeah, this is where there's, a lot of popular people, influencers, whatever. People look at you so weird when, you don't diet or you don't exercise a lot or, whatever. They're always oh. And I feel like there's just so much judgment, even within womanhood in itself, because I think that from the beginning, we're put against each other because, everything is made into a competition because none of us are ever good enough. And so the only way that we can satisfy that feeling inside of us of, feeling valuable and feeling enough is by competing with this girl or this girl or this girl, because we view every girl as better than us, prettier than us, skinnier than us, whatever the fuck the case may be. So if we reach her level of this, great. Then somebody, another person, and then it's just this endless cycle, and that's not a great way to live. That's not a healthy way to live. That's not a healthy mindset to have. And all of these things are so normalized for women, expecting toxic behavior from men in relationships, dieting, exercising. It's expected of women to shave. It's expected of women to be modest, but also not too modest. It's expected of women to, have natural hair color, but also not if their natural hair color is, anything other than blonde or maybe dirty blonde. Then get highlights, be blonde, whatever. It's expected of women to wax their eyebrows, thread their eyebrows, whatever. Get lash extensions. Wear makeup, but not too much makeup, because then you're asking, then you're overly confident. And it's as you can see, nothing that we do ever meets satisfaction. And it's fucking exhausting. I don't know. I feel like this video, there's not a concrete point. I think that's just me ranting about the horridness of expectations, but I think that that's good because I think that it really shows that these expectations don't stop. These expectations haunt us forever, and we carry it with us whether we recognize that or not, unfortunately. And it's about damn time that we called it out. It's about damn time that we stood against it, and it's about damn time that we said fuck you to all the expectations, and we just start living life the way we want to live it. And that's what I'm currently doing. I don't know, I've been through enough shit that I'm just I'm not shaving my legs because I don't fucking want to. I want to have fucking bright ass pink hair. I'm gonna have fucking bright ass pink hair. And that's it. So I guess it's easier said than done, obviously, to get rid of these expectations and this internalized misogyny that might, you know, be holding you back. So I hope that this resonated with you. I hope that, you know, you can watch and listen to this and maybe, you know, feel empowered or feel encouraged or heard, at least seen. Yeah, I think it's important to recognize the disadvantages of being a woman in a very male dominated and a patriarchal society, and the expectation and the pressure that is put on us from a very, very young age, and that how that affects our life. So yeah, just wanted to make this short and sweet. It's probably still a little too long to my liking, but it's fine. I hope you enjoyed this. I took a little bit of a break from educational because my last few episodes have been firmly educational, and while I think that that's great, I also just like having natural conversations with you guys about, you know, experiences and ranting, so just thought I'd bring that back this episode. Hope you enjoyed a little bit of a different topic, like not like queer related or focused topic necessarily, but also like still in a way relating to just like minority rights and all of that, and social justice. So yeah, let me know your thoughts. Let me know topics for next video, next episode. I do want to talk about intersectional feminism. That's something that I'm meaning to talk about, but also that's an educational one. It's probably a little bit of a longer one too, so I might hold off on that for a little bit. So let me know, throw out some topics out there, throw some ideas out there. Hope you enjoyed this video. And to all the men who are watching, if you are watching, be aware of this. I think this is important for y'all to hear too, and be part of the change actively, you know. Actively support women and respect women no matter what, because you know, we don't have to ask for your respect. We just deserve respect because we are human beings. So yeah, obviously I know that not all men are horrible, obviously, or toxic or whatever, and most likely if you are watching this, then you're one of the good ones and you want to be part of the change, and I think that that's great and that's important, and I'm glad to have you in the feminist movement. Let's burn the patriarchy to the ground together. See you next week.